Welcome to, excuse me. Welcome to the Monday, June 22nd, 2020 Lake County Regular School Board meeting. We will have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Mathias.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, very good. Welcome everybody. Today we are opening items. Do we have any changes, amendments, additions, or deletions to the agenda?
I have a few, Madam Chair. First of all, item 8.14, it's the agreement with Heartland School Solutions, has a revised agreement. Those were emailed to you, or if those in the room have it in front of you. Also, we're pulling items 8.21 and 8.22 for no action. The original interlocal agreement has already been brought to you, and so it was not necessary for those items to be on the agenda. And we're also pulling item 1012, the right of passage agreement for no action, and it may be brought back to you at a later date. That's all I have.
Okay. I do want to pull 1014 for discussion. And I have 1012 board. Anything else?
I'm sorry, which item?
10.14.
Okay.
Let me make sure it's the right number. Procedure manual. Yeah, the procedure manual. Okay. I don't see anything else. I don't see Mark though. Mr. Dodd. There he is. You're good, Mr. Dodd? Okay.
What did he want?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we're ready for approval of the minutes.
I recommend approval of the minutes from the school board workshop, May 18th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Time for public input. I know we have one public input. We have Kim Cronin, who's calling in.
She's coming.
Oops.
Dr. Burns, you want to let Kim, Ms. Cronin know that she's ready?
Mrs. Cronin, we see you.
Ms. Cronin, can we see you? I see you. Go ahead and start when you're ready. You have 3 minutes, Ms. Cronin. Can you hear us, Kim? Is she froze?
Mrs. Cronin,
Yeah, she's froze.
Oh,
your screen
maybe-
froze. You need to refresh.
Who?
Kim.
I think we've lost her.
Okay,
We
she's
can come back.
she's connecting back right now.
Oh, okay. Kim, whenever, if you can hear us, we're ready.
She's connecting to audio, it looks like right now, so maybe don't click on it just a second.
I think she's still loading.
Mrs. Cronin, if you know sign language, you could start. We can see you.
I don't think she can hear us. Should we maybe, can you work on this, Ms. Weisskopf?
It looks like, are you in, Kim?
Oh,
I can't, no. I mean, she can go out and come back in. I can't. It's not my internet. It would be her internet service. It's for Wi-Fi. That's
Right.
so.
Kim,
I mean, she's on there. I just can't. She just isn't coming up.
Kim, you're on. Kim?
Cam? Cam?
Yeah.
Can she talk? Maybe we should,
Oh,
Here we go. No.
there she goes.
connecting. Is that bad or good?
That's good.
Kim, you there?
Kim, you there?
She freezes.
Can she call in? Is it possible for her to call in?
Let me call her and I can put her on my speak.
Okay.
Okay.
Chair, the superintendent's going to try and call her. I don't know if you heard that.
Okay. All right. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, do you, well, we'll
Hey,
wait.
I think they're-
you're not able to
yeah.
get in through the Zoom. I can actually put you on the speaker and you can give us your public input if you'd like to from here. I can put you. All right. Yeah, hold on. All right, let me put you on speaker. All right, hold on 1 second.
Excellent.
Okay, go ahead, Kim.
All right, good evening. Hope you all can hear me.
We can.
Yes.
Got two issues on tonight's agenda. One is 8.07. I know you guys are probably all sick of hearing me about this one here, which is the athletic fields, the turf care. So I think last time I discussed this, there was some things added to the contract when it was put up for renewal. I forget exactly what it was, and I couldn't find my notes, but there is something added to it again tonight. I did talk with Gary Rogers, and there was something you had to treat a field for. I just don't want to, we're approving a contract like this. I don't think we should have other things added to the contract. I think they should be separate items. So that is my issue with that tonight. Then I also have an issue with 10.14, which is the Extended Learning Centers Procedure Manual. This is for the 2021 school year. I've gone through it a little bit. I found some things that it doesn't sit very well with me. I know it doesn't sit well with some employees and some administrators. This procedure manual usually goes to an advisory board, which they did not have last year. I'm not sure of the rush of right now, but I think we have time to bring it to an advisory board to let employees and administrators discuss some of the issues in here before the 2021 school year starts. So there's two issues in there that really stick out to me, and page 13 and page 21 talks about late pickups, and does not have the same language in each paragraph. I think it should read the same. Also talks about students, after so many times of late pickups, the students would be suspended from the program. There's also on page 15 and 16 is past due. Talks about their payment. Their payment is past due if it's not paid by Friday at 6 o'clock the week before the program, which, that also talks about a student being suspended from the program if they're late so many times. They also have a late fee. I agree with the late fee, but I don't think that it should be paid on Friday after Friday. The student doesn't come back, and they don't actually utilize that program until Monday. We have parents that are paying online that pay Saturday and Sunday, and they get charged a late fee also. So I just think that it's some things that I think that administrators are getting complaints about, but it didn't have time to be addressed because it did go to an advisory board. So that's really all I have for you tonight. Thank you for calling me and getting me in there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kim.
Thank you so much, Kim. We've already pulled one of those items. Go ahead.
Are you going to pull the other one, the athletic field one?
Yes,
I didn't
please.
pull that one. Would you like to?
Yeah,
Yes.
8.07, let's just go ahead and pull that for clarification.
Yeah.
Mr. Carr is here.
I hope he's on the screen.
All right.
I can't tell.
Very good. So
Is-
we're at
Is
attorney
Mr.
report.
Carr sitting outside?
I'm sorry. Was there somebody else?
No. We're just trying to make sure we have Mr. Carr available.
Right.
He's here. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't need you until we pull that. We have an item we're going to pull. Do you know what it is, Mr. Carr?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, and
We'll bring you in just a second. Thank you.
I don't
Okay.
have anything to report.
Nothing for Mr. Johnson?
No, ma'am.
All right. So moving on to new business and the consent agenda, Superintendent.
All right, I recommend approval of consent agenda items 8.01 to 8.06, 8.08 to 8.20, 8.23 to 10.11, 10.13, and 10.15 to 10.23.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, going back. What was the first?
8.07.
8.07?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank
Mr.
you.
We need Mr. Carr now.
Okay, very good. Oh,
You're going to sit there.
And you know what the question is, right?
Yes, sir, I do. Basically, there's discrepancy between the 380,000 to 400,000, and it's basically 380,000, which has unchanged. The $20,000 was added for the treatment, should it be needed, for nematode treatment.
Okay. I was thinking it was always 400,000.
No, sir, it was 380,000.
Okay.
Was that not included before?
No, the nematodes were not treated, or not included before.
They're not
Okay.
considered a bug.
That's right.
I've heard that word before, John. I know you've talked about nematodes before with athletic fields.
Eustis High School.
That is correct,
Yes.
and I believe, yeah, Eustis was the most severe one, yes.
And so that one field warrants the additional $20,000 over the course of the year?
Well, we unfortunately, that is not exclusive just to that area. I have other fields that have them as well.
Right.
So depending on numerous conditions, I needed to have it available. And it's JSM, as I understand, is only one of two companies in the state of Florida that actually are licensed to treat them, because of the chemical that has to be applied is quite
Really
hazardous.
nasty.
Really nasty. Yeah.
Oh, is it up to $20,000 then? Or
That is
it-
correct. It's up to $20,000, and it's a set aside exclusively through that, should it be needed.
Okay.
I do want to make an observation.
Yes, sir.
That, because I was at the graduation of two of our schools, and this year we held them on the football fields.
Yes, sir.
And for the investment we have in those fields and in the turf, I know that just before we went to this program of having professionals take care, the fields were atrocious at my schools, and they were amazing.
Thank you.
So, well done, Mr. Carr.
I
Well
appreciate
done.
that. And thank you for, you helped spirit that movement. So thank you very much, and to the board. and
It's a
Sandy.
tremendous investment at these schools, and well worth having the professionals take care of it, my
Thanks, sir.
opinion. Okay?
Thank you.
Anything else for Mr. Carr?
Mr. Dodd's got his hand.
Yeah, so I just wanted to comment perhaps about maybe the formatting of this, which I think is probably what caused a bit of confusion, because it looked like we were approving a contract that is the same, but the fiscal impact is different, when in reality, we as a district have already been buying those services, obviously, clearly, in the case of Eustis. So I just wondered if maybe in the future, we might be able to break that out to add the clarity, because, I mean, the contract itself, seeking its fourth renewal, should be the same price of $380, but then there's this additional contract for up to $20,000. Maybe that would avoid some of the confusion in the future on that one.
Well
Thank you.
noted. Yes, sir. We'll line item it differently next time. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Superintendent.
So we need a motion, or we need a recommendation,
Right.
sorry.
I recommend approval of item 8.07, the renewal for the athletic field contract.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. Moving on. Is 8.14 one we pulled, or was that just set aside?
My understanding was she brought that to our attention to, if you had not received the email, you should have, about the difference in the contract.
Okay, okay.
That was on the
So
consent
then we
already.
just really have 10.14 left? Is that
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, So I brought, it was me and somebody else brought this one forward. I spoke with Kim about this, the ELC manual. One of the concerns she discussed with me, I thought was fair. I have no problem if we want to send the manual. I don't know our timing schedule for the manual. I don't know if we want to send it to a committee type or ask our principals for a look over or something like that. But the 2 points she made to me did make sense. Like, if a parent doesn't pay, I think at some point, maybe if a parent doesn't pay ever, you know, like, and then, but they've paid up, you know, if you're late on a book, pay, you know, at the library, or you have a ticket, you can pay them and then you can continue to use the library. You don't get kicked out permanently. So I thought that was a fair point about the suspensions, that it's really the parents, not the kids, that are doing something wrong. The kids, it's not their behavior that's getting them suspended. And then the past due thing does seem like it would be a simple thing to address. It's simply that parents who can pay and they pay a little bit extra online, I think the parents that are online can pay on the weekend up until Monday, and the parents that pay by check can't. So whichever one, it would make just a lot of sense if everyone had the same late day. So that we're not assessing a fee to check payers on Friday and credit card people on Monday.
Superintendent, is there a reason that this one couldn't go before the committee?
Ms. Summerlin is on the call, so I'll have to ask Ms. Summerlin to address that question and any concerns that you have regarding the document. So, Ms. Summerlin, what are your thoughts about taking this back to the committee?
We can obviously do that. This policy, this process has been in place for many years. And the district staff had done the formatting and the clarification and the old policy updates, but those were the only things that were changed. We did provide the 3, what we call senior ELC site coordinators, an opportunity to review and provide input. That information was not carried forward. Given the situation we were working with, the home stay-at-home order and the fact that we had the non-substantive changes, we did not pull the advisory council back together, because advisory council had met throughout the year multiple times regarding different topics. I would like to clarify, if I may, as far as the process goes, parents don't have to sign a contract. So it's important that we know by Friday at 6 who the students are that are coming. That's because of staffing. We fall under the guidelines of DCF, and those we have to operate with the ratio of 20-to-1 on students. And we always have, each site is staffed with a minimum of 2 students. But if we don't have but 20 people sign up and pay us by 6 o'clock on Friday, and then 7 o'clock Monday morning, we have 30 extra people, we'll be out of compliance with those guidelines. We also realize that there are parents that don't come on the morning, so they're in the afternoon, so we could also have that problem on the afternoons. Also, the procedure manual is what we call our ELC policy, and obviously it's school board, but we have a couple other tools out there. We have what we call an operational handbook, which is a site coordinator's SOPs. So before Fridays happened, parents, there's flyers that go up on Thursday. Parents, please remember, payments are due on Friday that sign changes. Site coordinators know if the parent hasn't paid them, they will either call on Friday afternoon between 6 and 6:15. Please remember, we need a payment. And if still they haven't paid by Monday morning, then those parents that don't drop off Monday morning, they also have the option then of paying then, and there is a late fee. But I'd like to also point out that we have other pieces. It's not quite as harsh as it sounds. By the time, it's not systematic that all these students are sent up to the principal's office. That was one comment that was made to me. And that's not really the case. What we do, ELC, we give the parents a pamphlet when they register their child every year so that they understand what's going on. We have other protocols in place that if a parent is missing a payment, if it's a hardship, principals have an option of providing them an ELC scholarship. If they have another issue that they need, they're late, let's say they didn't pay and they call and they ask for a waiver, I'll talk to them. Maybe we come up with a payment plan. So there's different mechanisms that are in place before we ever get to the line of kicking a student out. So obviously, all that to be said, we can have another advisory meeting. We can call it tomorrow and have a conversation with
Two
those
statements that
folks,
was made
the
toward that same thing.
representatives, principals, and site coordinators and assistant site coordinators. So it would be the pleasure, whatever the pleasure of the board is, we can do that. But I wanted to give you a little background. I know it sounds harsh in the procedure manual, but we have other mechanisms in place that it's a last resort.
Okay. Board? Does everyone?
I think it would be advantageous to get the group together, the principals and the site coordinators, and then you can say that we've talked about any of the revisions and it's coming forward. If there's not a time frame that we're under, that'd be what I would assume.
The other,
I like that.
I agree, 100%.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd also like to see that group come together and have some dialogue around these issues that Kim has brought forward. And I think that one of the challenges that I'm also seeing is the inconsistency that I think it was explained to me today that some of the parents who paid on the weekend have not been assessed a late fee and others have. So I guess it depends on whether or not you've caught the ELC coordinator on a nice day, and policy should not be, if you're feeling nice, you get this, and likewise you don't. And then I've got, I guess, a bit of a question as to whether or not kids are getting sent to the principal, and that seems to be inconsistent too from site to site. I mean, if the principal is receiving a kid to babysit, it seems like we're taking the principal away from some other duties that they could better be doing, aside from duplicating the efforts of ELC. And then there's also the shaming kind of factor that goes into the kid who's now got to sit at a desk outside the principal's office while everybody else is getting a snack and playing on the playground and getting help with homework. So that's something I'd like to revisit. Julie and I also talked about a couple lines in the lunch section today that are contradictory. That in the first line it says you don't get a lunch. Second line says you got to bring a lunch. Or anyway, the two bullets basically meant on a full day you got a lunch from the cafeteria and you had to bring your own lunch. So you're left with two lunches. So they could clean up that language a little bit instead of waiting until next year to do that.
Mr. Dodd,
Yes.
are you saying that parents have reached out to you and that the child is sent to the principal and then they have to sit outside?
No parent has contacted me about that. So Kim explained that this is a procedure that happens, and I talked to Julie today, and so she clarified that at some sites this happens and some sites it doesn't. That at some places the principal will send the kid back to ELC, and other places they don't send them back to ELC, and so that process is handled differently from site to site.
There is no way we should shame a child. I'm going to tell you right now. So that we should not be doing.
No, I would agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get some background on that, and I guess it all stems from this line in the handbook that refers to Article 7, Section 10 of the Florida Constitution that says that we can't extend credit. But in reality, I went and read that section today of the Constitution. It's very fascinating. You should read it. But basically it says, it doesn't say that we can't extend credit. It says we are prohibited from using our taxing authority to extend credit. So ELC is a fee-based program, self-sustaining. It seems to me that if a child shows up without payment, you should be able to still service them that day, and then you request that the parent go online and make payment. I don't think this is a violation of the Constitution that you have to send the kid to the principal's office and not participate in ELC for the day.
Is that what people wait?
That's the line in the
Do
handbook.
we have people who think they're following the Constitution to send kids to the office?
Our handbook specifically cites that article in that section of the Constitution and says that that's why we can't extend credit. And therefore, a student cannot attend ELC if they have an outstanding late fee.
So then they go to the principal's office.
That's right. Well, according to the policy, So if you did not pay by 6 p.m. on Friday and you paid on the weekend, your bill might be caught up except for now this $5 late fee. Our policy says you can't attend ELC with that late fee. Similarly, if you have been picked up late the day before, you can't attend ELC. Or let's say you show up 7 a.m. Monday morning and for whatever reason your parent did not pay, forgot to pay, maybe Friday was a holiday and actually had to pay by Thursday, weeks before, maybe a Christmas break happened in there, then according to our policy, you can't attend ELC, but you've already gotten dropped off. So therein lies the dilemma, and that's why it might be inconsistent from site to site.
Well, I think the fact that we've agreed that we're going to pull it, all of those concerns should be addressed maybe at that time, right?
Yeah, I agree so.
I think that's appropriate.
Well done.
Let's do that. Okay, very good.
So we need a motion to table this.
I recommend that we pull item 10.14 for no action.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Moving on to discussion. Item 11.01. I believe this will be Mr. Johnson. These are hearings, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wait, no, this is the tentative approval of the boundary. Is this Mr. Carr?
No, ma'am.
No,
It's Mr.
this is
Johnson.
Mr. Johnson.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's all right.
All right.
Item 11.01 is tentative approval of option 6A, attendance boundary adjustments for South County elementary and middle schools effective in 2021, 2022. Since there's nobody in the room to direct the question to, have there been any requests for addressing this particular topic, Dr. Weisskopf? Dr. Weisskopf here? Oh, there she
All
is.
right.
She said no, there's no public
No,
input.
okay. Then I believe it appropriate to close the public hearing.
Okay, very good.
Superintendent?
The next item is 11.02.
We're not going to vote
Do
on
we
this
need
one.
to?
Oh, I'm
Do we need
sorry.
to vote?
Going a little fast,
Yeah.
trying to be Mr. Matthias.
I recommend
Okay, Superintendent, you're
I
up.
recommend approval of item 11.01, the tentative approval of option 6A, the attendance boundary adjustments.
So moved.
Second.
All right, first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Now the next,
Stephanie, you were an approve, right? Okay. 11.02, Mr. Johnson.
11.02 is the tentative approval of the 2020-2021 student progression plan. Dr. Weisskopf, have there been anyone that's requested to speak to this particular issue?
There has not.
And, Madam Chairman, I believe it appropriate to close the public hearing.
Okay, very good. Superintendent?
I recommend approval of item 11.02, tentative approval of the 2021 student progression plan.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 11.03, Mr. Johnson.
11.03 is the item that requests tentative approval of the 2020-2021 Code of Student Conduct and Policy Guide. Dr. Weisskopf, has there been anyone that's requested to speak to this particular item?
No, sir, there has not.
Madam Chairman, I believe it appropriate to close the public hearing.
Thank you very much, Ms. Superintendent.
I recommend approval of item 11.03, tentative approval of the 2021 Code of Student Conduct.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just I wanted to, because we're moving through these very fast for the public, I did want to let you know that we have held workshops on all these topics. So if you want to look at all the discussion that went into this, go back to the last couple workshops we covered this. So 10.04,
11.04.
Mr. Johnson.
11.04 is
11.04.
tentative approval of three policies, 5511 dress and grooming, 5600 student discipline, and 8330 student records. Dr. Weisskopf, has anyone requested hearing on these particular policies?
No.
Okay,
Madam Chairman, I believe it appropriate to close the public hearing.
thank you very much. Superintendent?
Recommend approval of item 11.04, the tentative approval of the 3 policies as stated in board docs.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving on to the superintendent's report.
So one thing I wanted to bring to your attention, you might have already seen it, I believe the Daily Commercial covered this recently, is Mount Dora Middle and South Lake High School were 2 out of 60 schools in the state that were selected to participate in the first of the Florida Civics and Debate Initiative. And this is an exciting opportunity for our schools to test out this initiative. Each school will receive fundings to start a debate team, including money for tournament transportation, coach stipends, and membership in the National Speech and Debate Association. And so we're excited to welcome this initiative to our county and are pleased that these 2 schools will be involved in that in the coming year. In addition, I had one letter of condolence that was sent to Ray Emerson. He's the father-in-law of Mark Palmer, our manager of school safety. And so just want to extend our condolences to Mark and his family in the loss of his father-in-law. That's all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dodd,
All
did
right.
you want to go first?
Sure, I can do that. Yeah, I don't mind. During this whole quarantine period, there was an article that ran in the Sentinel called "Little Criminals." This was back in mid-April, and this one was in our daily news story dump that we get every day. And there were some things that I found rather interesting. And basically, it looked at the idea that where you live had a pretty good impact on whether or not you were likely to be arrested at school for minor offenses. And I know that obviously we are not the arresting authority. That's somebody else. But one fact that I thought was particularly interesting, that they combined 4 Central Florida counties: Orange, Seminole, Lake, and Osceola, which equates to basically the same number of students as Miami-Dade. But we, as that group, had 3 times as many arrests. And similarly, they looked at race and found that it seems to be rather disproportionate on types of students getting arrested based on their percentage of actual offenses. So I wondered if this might be a noteworthy workshop topic for us to look at, to review that data, that sort of data. Maybe it's a collaborative thing with the sheriff's office, and they might be able to provide some additional information that maybe didn't quite make the paper for some reason. I know there's always 2 sides to every story, and so I thought that would be particularly educational and maybe an eye-opening experience. And so I just wanted to throw that one out there for a topic if others are interested.
I am.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I actually have been trying to do a little bit of my own research on that topic. And so, yeah, I'm particularly interested. I think it's very timely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I don't know where that falls in the workshop schedule, but just wanted to throw it out there.
Okay. Ms. Luke, are you done, Mr. Dodd?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Luke?
I actually don't have anything right now, but thank you.
Oh, very good. Mr. Gamble?
I just want to say a couple things real quick. With the graduations that went on and everything, that we acknowledge the teachers and the staff that was there, that actually was volunteering in most cases, to be their appreciation. But I failed to acknowledge Gary Rogers and his group out there at the warehouse and grounds for all that they did behind the scenes that a lot of people didn't know about. All those chairs that were set up, it was his people that went out there and set those up, except what was on the field that the custodians and the staff there set up for the graduates. But all on the track and all the markings that was in the stadium for areas for people to sit, that was Gary and his group, and I appreciate it. Out there in the sun, threw in all that for us so that we could have that graduation, and I just say it was a great graduation to be able to have. Thank you.
Well done. I think they did an awful lot of work at all of our schools.
Yes.
So I totally agree, Sandy. Well done. And I don't have anything. Thank you.
You don't have anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I just have, I wanted to, I put this out as a Facebook post so anyone can read it, but I did want to read it because I feel like it just is important to let people know what our state strategy is with COVID as we're looking towards moving to opening schools. So I think it's really important to, I'm just going to read it. I feel like it's really important to spell out our state strategy. I feel like our governor rarely says it explicitly, but I listen to him every time he speaks, and this logic is explained. So the goal right now with with all of COVID in Florida, what I see the state goal as is to increase the number of cases so that we can open the economy. Because we're opening the economy, the number of cases by default, as people start just bouncing near each other, the number of cases is going to go up. There's just no getting around math. That's just math. So I think it's important to understand that we are increasing cases and that deaths will follow that in order to be opening the economy. That the metric that the state really is looking at is hospital capacity. So you can go on to the Florida Department of Health website and you can actually see how is our caseload for COVID. Is our hospital cases increasing? At what level? They have thresholds. They used to have right on the dashboards, they used to have lines for thresholds. So you can see they're trying not to go above 10%. So both the local, state, and the state government, both our local county government and our state government, have said out loud, they want people who are 65 and older and with serious underlying conditions. I think we all know those people. They want those people to shelter in place. So this is really a strategy similar to what Sweden has done. So this is the opening up strategy of protect the nursing homes and elderly and sick and let the rest of the economy work. So I just wanted to encourage people, given this philosophy, that if we do masking, and I contacted our local epidemiologist and I asked her, everything says, the CDC says we should wear masks, but everything says, look at your local levels at what, and ask your local people. And our local people weren't giving us much feedback. So we kept getting like, well, what level are we at? Should we be wearing masks, or is that really more for New York City? Because they're much higher. And so we finally got out of them they actually think of masking as it's as important as washing your hands, is basically how I read it. So just like you should wash your hands, you want to wear masks, I think, right now, because as we are opening up, we're going to be able to stay open longer without crashing our healthcare system if we continue to practice social distancing. So months ago, I think I showed you guys those mobility reports, or I talked about them from Google. Those mobility reports showed that the people, everybody, decided to separate long before the governor did. And if everyone decides to not separate now, the cases are going to spike, and then we will overload healthcare. So the idea is to get us up there, but not completely destroy the system. So I would encourage everyone to wear masks, because I think we'll be more likely to be able to do what we want longer. And as we look towards opening schools and being inside, it's looking more and more important. But so that was my warning, I guess. I also wanted to comment on, we will be opening schools in July for a reading series, for doing reading camps in the classrooms for children specifically. And I wanted to point out the series that Ms. Weiskopf, I believe, or I'm not sure who picked, but when I looked at it, it's the Literacy Pro series, and it's like an 8-week boot camp, and there's all different camps, and each camp has different books that they could read. But what I really loved was I was able to look at the books and go, I know Zebras Can't Dance. I've read Chrysanthemum. My kids have read the I Survived. These kids are reading in our remedial reading classes. They're reading real literature and real books. And I just wanted to point that out, because I really appreciate that our kids are doing real in-depth work and not just bubble sheets. I just really wanted to point that out. That was really cool. So that's really all I have. We'll be meeting this week to talk about opening of the schools and hopefully have a plan on the 29th. Mr. Matthias, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, we're adjourned.